Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 50 of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death, a very special 50th episode of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. Man, can you believe I've done 50 of these things? That freaking blows my mind. On that note, if you want to see, for those that don't know, if you want to see episodes 1 through 15, you have to go to the final episodes of Dark Souls 3, the Dark Souls 3 No Estus run. They're at the end of the episodes. There's no bios or anything. It's just like this part right here where we're picking the fights, and it was just kind of a commentary kind of thing. I think it's episodes 37 or 38 through 52 to the end there. So, like I said, you have to go to the end of the episode. It's just a last little segment at the end. So, if you want to check that out, by all means, that's where episodes 1 through 15 are. And 16 started with the new format that I discussed with the boys, namely Christian. He was the one that kind of came up with it to do bios and then the verdict. And then, so that's where we're at right now. Episode 50, baby. That's pretty freaking amazing. What is so special about this 50th episode? I don't freaking know. It's 50. It's a milestone. That's what's so special about it. Otherwise, it is the same SoulsBorne Battle to the Death that you have come to know and love. We are going to pick 2 random SoulsBorne bosses. And then, in honor of the 50th episode, they are going to be presented with a cake with 50 candles on it. And they will have to blow out their candles the cleanest and the fastest to be the winner. But, as an added challenge, they also have to keep the cake intact. Because I was kind of thinking about it. Some of these bosses could do that just by normal breathing, just blow out the candles. So it's not really much of a challenge, but they also have to keep the cake intact. Like the one Reborn or Astel, Natural Born, or the Void can just blow this cake to smithereens. So they have to keep it intact in order to win this challenge. So, yeah. I thought that might be too easy to just blow out the candles. It's no fun, so I had to give them a little bit of a challenge. Otherwise, it's just complete and utter nonsense. So, all right, episode 50 of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. This is hopefully going to be a very, very special fight, and competitor number 1 is Slave Knight Gale from Dark Souls 3. I say that is a fine choice for the 50th episode of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. Slave Knight Gale, the final boss at the end of time. Technically the final boss in all of Dark Souls 3. Not the final boss of the game, but the final boss chronologically. Basically, you meet him at the end of the world, so to speak. And he is a tough one. He will absolutely give you a run for your money. I did fight him in the the No Estus run, so you should definitely go back and check that out. That was a lot of fun. I don't even remember how many tries it took for me to beat him, but a substantial amount, that's for sure. So, yeah, Slave Knight Gale is competitor number 1 here on this 50th episode of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. And we're going to take this wheel for another spin. We are spinning to see who is going to face Slave Knight Gale. How many times could I say? I was just going to say it again. This very special 50th episode of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. Ooh boy, there's a lot of worthy competitors here that could battle Gale in a very, very entertaining fight. So yeah, there's lots to choose from here, and also a lot of other things that could happen that have not happened in a while. So we'll just have to see what comes up here. So Slave Knight Gale on one side of the arena, on one side of the arena, and he is going to go one-on-one with Devil's Choice. I can either pick the combatant I just landed on, or I could pick a new one. I like Slave Knight Gale, so I see no reason to change that particular selection that came up. So we are going to spin this wheel one more time. Oh, wait. The button didn't work. I don't know why. All right, we're spinning this wheel again. We are going to pick a worthy competitor. Another, synonym was not coming to my brain right now. I'm not feeling very well. I think I may have a cold. But it's been a long weekend. This is the end of the weekend for me. But all right, Slave Knight Gale on one side of the wow, on one side of the arena, and on the other side of the arena we have Udex Gundyr from the same game, Dark Souls 3. Once again, I take these bosses and I try to put them on a level tier. So, obviously, Udex Gundyr being the first boss of the game and Slave Knight Gale being one of the last. Obviously, you want to kind of try to level things out here. This is kind of an interesting fight. I think this is a more interesting fight than you might think that it is. So, yeah, that's a pretty cool fight, I think, to have on the 50th episode of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. Let me just slip that in there one more time. And now we must go to the contractually obligated bio. So let's have a look at Slave Knight Gale. So, Slave Knight Gale, as you might have guessed, is a slave knight. And it's a situation that he escapes. I'm going to try and tell the story as shortly and concisely as possible. So, here we go. Gale escapes the life of a slave knight, finds himself in the painted world of Ariandel. He meets the painter, who possesses such great knowledge of the first flame and the dark soul that she wants to paint a new world. Sister Fried comes into the picture. She was an unkindled that tried to link the first flame and failed. So she finds the people there that she wants to protect. So she takes on the form that would appeal to them the most, I guess. Everyone in the painted world knows that the time will come when they have to burn their world and restore it. And Fried is opposed to this and wants the world to die a slow death by rot rather than burning because she's a bitch, I guess. The painter becomes imprisoned. Gale escapes the painting. Gale is aware of a prophecy that when ashes become two, the flame will return to burn the rot away. Sister Fried is the first ash, and so Slave Knight Gale is on a quest to find another ashen one, which is where you come into the picture. Quick side note, I really need like a Miyazaki alert like thing on the screen, like, you know, when shit doesn't make sense. So Gale helps you defeat Sister Fried and Father Ariandel, and then before the painter can paint her cold and bleak new world, which in her mind is a good thing, I guess, she needs a special pigment, the Dark Soul. So Gale's quest is not over. He goes in search of the Dark Soul. This search takes him all the way to the end of the world and the end of time. And he finds the Pygmy Kings who are in possession of the Dark Soul, but their blood is too dried and it is almost useless. So Gale consumes them, basically, eating and drinking their souls so that maybe the Dark Soul could be useful again. And unfortunately, it consumes him and basically makes him into a beast. When you reunite with him at the end of time and the end of the world, he is not himself anymore, and he tries to kill you, and then you kill him, and you take the Dark Soul and you bring it back to the painter to complete his story. That's basically it, and the painter creates a whole new world. So, once again, Miyazaki alert. I don't know what to tell you. That's basically the story, and that's just the way it is. So, the tragic story of Udex Gundyr is actually just one in a long line of tragic stories in SoulsBorne games. The way I remember it, Gundyr was a lord of Lothric and was destined to be the champion, or a champion, and light the first flame and do all that stuff. Somewhere along the way, he fell into an abyss and ended up in a time, like a time void where time stands still or some shit. And he ended up in a time where the Firelink Shrine had no fire, and when he showed up, the bell didn't toll, and his Firekeeper was found dead. So that was the time he was stranded in, and then
Somewhere along the way, he gets defeated by an unknown warrior and becomes a sheath for a coiled sword, and he becomes a test for anyone who is looking to light the first flame, or relight the first flame, or whatever. So he's the first boss in the game. So basically, he's a test. If you pass the test, then I guess you move on to the next test.
As I said during the fight selection, I think this is a closer fight than people think it is. Once again, I say it all the time, but I just want to drill it into people's heads. Keeping these bosses on a fairly level, even keel. Beginning bosses, end bosses, I want to make sure they're on a level playing field. I think Udex Gundyr would give Slave Knight Gale a hell of a fight. I really, really do. That being said, I think Slave Knight Gale is too much for Udex Gundyr. I think Slave Knight Gale... you also kind of have to look at it. Slave Knight Gale has... he has 2 different stages. I was going to say he has 3, but... Sister Frida has 3. But Slave Knight Gale, I think, has 2. But, Gundyr does too. Anyway, I was trying to think of Gundyr having 1 and Gale having 3. I don't know, that's not fair. But no, they both have 2. I think Slave Knight Gale is too much for Udex Gundyr, honestly. I think that, I think Slave Knight Gale is too fast, he's too strong, and he has too many tricks up his sleeve, especially in that second phase. He does a lot of, that ghost stuff, and the cape whips around, and he's, we could probably take the lightning out of it. That's just a part of the stage. But I think Slave Knight Gale takes this fight, and like I said, I still think it's a good fight, and I think, I think it, I think it comes down to the wire. I think that Gale really has to fight for it, but I think that Slave Knight Gale wins in the end. I think Slave Knight Gale comes out victorious, but that is just my opinion. Feel free to leave yours in the comments. And with that, this very special 50th episode of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death comes to a close. Thank you so much for all your love and support through all 50 episodes. I really, really appreciate it. SoulsBorne Battle to the Death is a great deal of fun to do. And it's pretty easy to do too, and I enjoy doing it. And I think a lot of people enjoy the surprise of seeing what the fight's going to be, and obviously it's a surprise for me too when I actually do it. It's a little bit different, so I don't know what the actual fight's going to be, and then we all get to share in the surprise together, kind of, and then and everyone has an opinion on who would beat who in a fight over whether it be superheroes or anime, whatever. And I don't think SoulsBorne stuff is no different. So I think we all enjoy that, and I appreciate everyone's support on this, and hopefully it continues to grow, and hopefully begins to reach a broader audience, and then we'll see what we have. But until then, you guys are just the absolute best, and I love and appreciate you for it. Like and subscribe, notifications, and all that nonsense. RobertBlanchardBooks.com. If you want to check out the Roar of a Dragon series, you could read the first 3 chapters of each book there for free. If you want to hear more about them, the Rise of Dragons podcast, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. My Linktree, my Instagram, my Twitter are all Bobby's World 2110. Mondays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the Elden Ring No Crimson Flask run that's ongoing right now. This past Monday, I journeyed into the Weeping Peninsula that I'm counting as... this is Volume 1 Limgrave, by the way. I'm separating the different lands into volumes, and I'll be slipping things in between. I'll be doing Dark Souls 1 and 2, and probably Bloodborne and some other things in between. I decided to count Weeping Peninsula as part of Limgrave. I hope no one minds. But I ventured down there across the Bridge of Sacrifice and did a few things down there. I'm working my way toward Morin Castle, so... that's what's going on that series right now. And Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here. You can come back next week for another edition of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. I actually had the episodes recorded for several weeks out, and then I realized that this week was going to be the 50th episode. And I was like, oh, I got to get a special episode in there. So I came in here and recorded another episode. So usually I would just, put the episodes together and produce them and then go, upload them and go ahead with it. But I had to get a special 50th episode in there, so where I actually, talk about the 50th episode. So yeah, that's what's going on right now. Thank you all so much for your support. I appreciate it. I know I said that already, but you can never say it enough, and it doesn't mean any less. The more I say it, it doesn't mean any less. So I hope everyone has an amazing week. Be well, stay safe, and as always, it's Bobby's World, and you're all just living in it. See you for live, y'all. Bye.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for checking out the video today, but I got a question for you. Did you know I wrote a book? Did you know I wrote 3 books? Did you know that they're all part of the same series? The Roar of a Dragon, The Treachery of a Weasel, and The Cry of a Raven. ReadersFavorite.com says that its intensity rivals that of the Game of Thrones series. Now, I personally think that's crazy, but it's not for me to judge. It's for you to judge. Go to robertblanchardbooks.com and you can check out the books right now. But wait, that's not all. All 3 books got 5-star reviews at ReadersFavorite.com. These books won the Silver Medal in the Literary Titan Awards. The Cry of a Raven won Silver at the Global eBook Awards. So what are you waiting for? Read about Aiden's dream to become a Knight of Delmar. Read about his death and resurrection. Oops, I gave that away, didn't I? And read about his journey back home from 3,000 years in the future to stop the evil that started in Delmar. Go to robertblanchardbooks.com. You can read the first 3 chapters of each book there for free. And then, if you're interested, you can buy the books there as well. And if you've already read the books or you just want to hear more about them, you can check out the Rise of Dragons podcast. You can listen to it wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And in every episode, I cover a character from the book, an event from the book, my journey into writing, and everything in between. Ripley, what do you got to say about all this?
Give me a treat or I will end you.
You know she's telling you to check out the books. Go to robertblanchardbooks.com to check out the books or listen to the Rise of Dragons podcast if you want to hear about them. That's all I got to say, and thank you for watching this video.